With an accusation leveled against WWE and more, this is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Explaining the reason for Jon Moxley's absence from All Elite Wrestling, Dave Meltzer noted in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Jon Moxley has been given time off by AEW and has not been backstage at AEW TV since the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. Talking about his release from WWE earlier in the year and a possible debut in AEW down the line, Trevor Lee, known in WWE as Cameron Grimes, said this during a virtual signing for K&S WrestleFest. It happens, right? A lot of it was timing, his release from WWE. It was poor timing, but the beauty of this business is that it never ends. There's never an off-season. There's 52 weeks a year that there's going to be television being produced for wrestling. It went from being 2 shows a week to now being 5 shows a week, being done 52 weeks out of the year. So chances are, out of the 250 shows in the next year that'll be on live television, and I'm sure you'll end up seeing me again somewhere at some point. So it's unfortunate, but it helps build that story, and that's where it all is. It's all pieces that build that story, and whenever I do make it back, it'll mean even more. I have interest in absolutely every company, but I do have interest in AEW. Why wouldn't I? It's doing what they're supposed to do, and it's shocking the culture, and it's stirring up a firestorm that is the new era of wrestling. So, of course. Providing more information on a pro wrestling promotion that he is looking to start, former writer for WWE, Freddie Prinze Jr., said this on his podcast. I've brought you on the journey as much as I can on starting my own wrestling promotion. I'm much closer to the finish line than the start line, and I'm much closer to a yes than a no, although a no can still happen, and my dream can be crushed. If it doesn't work with this place, then that will be it for at least this year, and I'll have to reset and find another way to try and make it work down the road. I already got a yes from a wonderful place from the head of their network, so you're like, oh yeah, it's done. Not quite. They are a subsidiary of a much larger company / studio, and they need to get a yes from one of the head honchos in their finance department to get the amount of money that I need to pull this off. So if that person says yes, then I have wrestling promotion, and I should know by the end of the week. So if you're listening to this on Thursday, by Friday, I think I'm going to have a yes or a no. So maybe next week I'll get to announce either great success or tragic failure, and we'll see. Once the process is over, I'm more than willing to talk about all the places that I went to, how I felt about it, and I'll be able to talk more about the production and what it is and how we're going to pull it off and what kind of style. But anyway, that's your update. Touching on a rumor regarding WWE giving up on Omos, Ringside News wrote that Omos signed with WWE in January 2019 and eventually got paired up with AJ Styles in 2020, going on to win the Raw Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania 37. Omos would compete a few times after that on television, most notably at the Royal Rumble this year. Since May 2023, the Nigerian giant Omos has barely appeared on WWE programming, with his last match being the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on the SmackDown before WrestleMania 40 in April. Prior to this, he regularly worked house shows, defeating Odyssey Jones and Akira Tozawa in squash matches. Dave Meltzer reported in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that WWE used these house show matches to give Omos more experience, as the company hadn't fully decided to give up on him. However, Omos has not been booked for any WWE live events since then, and it was noted that WWE had given up on him. Instead, he has turned his attention to other projects, including launching a YouTube channel. His first video featured Top 10 SummerSlam Fragrances 2024. Regarding the report that WWE has given up on Omos, Ringside News was told by multiple sources that WWE uses him as an attraction talent, so the notion that WWE has given up on him is not true. When it comes to former AEW World Champion and current International Champion for the company MJF making the move to WWE, NXT star Lexis King talked about this telling Busted Open Radio. "I think it's cool and all," King said about WWE and TNA's partnership. "I don't care what acronym, TNA, ECW, AEW, I don't care where you come from. I came from a different acronym at one time, and I don't look at any one roster as a set bubble. I think you look at pro wrestling, you gotta look at the whole landscape, you gotta look at the entire roster. You got guys like MJF over there in AEW, he could come over here at any time and steal anybody's spot if he wanted to. So I don't look at different factions as this, that, or the other. I think everybody is an opponent, everybody is an enemy of mine, and if you're coming over to my show and taking spots, then you're on my radar, because I'm the king of NXT, and this is my domain, and you're going to come in here and you're going to parade around that TNA flag. Well, you better be ready to get in the ring and throw some hands, because I'm fighting for my spot too, and I don't care what acronym that is. We're all wrestlers. We're all in this business together, and I think we should all be fighting for the spots equally as hard, and we should all be putting on our best performances." Mentioning a spot in his match from the AEW Double or Nothing event last year where he hit an exploding superkick, Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks told the Sneaker History podcast, "It's something I came up with, and the fact that it came out as great as it did when we were in Las Vegas at Double or Nothing 2023, and I had the Across the Spider-Verse Jordan 1 sneakers. I blew them up essentially in someone's face. I superkicked Jon Moxley, and I had a pyrotechnic attached to the sneaker. It created this giant fireball in his face. It was so shocking, nobody saw it coming. It was almost this 2 or 3 second delay of, wait, what? No one understood what they had just seen. It was really cool because it took a lot of work. I had to get my Nevada State license as a fireworker, I think they call it. I had to go through rehearsal. We had to really make sure this thing was going to work. There is a good chance that it wouldn't have worked. So the fact that it worked and worked as well as it did, that's one that maybe isn't talked about enough. People send me private messages all the time. I love this moment, but I feel it's kind of forgotten. Maybe because it was among such a crazy match that night where a million other things. That was a really special moment with sneakers." Addressing the response from fans to Joe Hendry being eliminated in the TNA World title match at the Slammiversary show, Nick Nemeth said this on Busted Open Radio. "I think it could have been his night. With that comes certain things behind the scenes and all over the company that we would make sure that he was seen in the best possible light. For the most part, I feel that would be more of a shock factor and get a few more views on YouTube at the moment. I don't know that's the exact play. Maybe it was. In this case, someone that takes out the 3-year undefeated Moose has one of the best showings of all 6 fighters in the match, comes out with people dressed as him in the crowd. Has it been like this for 6 months or a year? It's been a few months. It could be the right time, sure, but it also could be the right time to have him in there with Josh Alexander or myself, getting that much better, that much more compared, not just on the microphone or an awesome wrestler, but to be ready to be the absolute best top of the top. We could have went that way. There is something special about him, and I love that so many fans are excited for him, and even on the plane. I got to check a few things. I got a lot of congratulations and awesome match. A lot of people going, Joe Hendry got buried. Least thing you could ever say about anyone in that match was someone got buried. What an amazing moment. We set up a bunch of stories for a bunch of people. Joe Hendry is coming for the world title. Maybe he's the rightful champ. So many great things happened, and Joe really got featured in a very positive way where we're going with this guy long term. Just in case he happens to be at NXT more and doing other things, we need somebody full time at the top of the TNA list. I want to be that guy, and I'm happy to be that guy. Speaking about the potential for a collaboration down the line with WWE, AEW President Tony Khan said this on the Rich Eisen show. I would love if that were possible. I don't know that it is, but it would be great if it was possible for the fans. I think that would be wonderful. However, there are a lot of challenging business aspects in the world of pro wrestling that I think would make that a very challenging thing to do. Taking to X, AEW star Saraya sent out a warning to fans that are falling victim to scam accounts, writing, "Just a heads up, the only social media I have is X, Insta, and TikTok, all under the handle Saraya. No variations of that. Just Saraya, all verified. No, I'm not asking you for money on secret accounts or on other social platforms. You are being scammed. Please don't fall for that Touching on the future of MVP and Bobby Lashley, who could leave WWE once their contracts expire in the near future, Booker T said this on his Hall of Fame podcast. "It's not so saturated in TNA where these guys would be seen and highlighted on a weekly basis. Of course, they could end up in AEW, and of course, they would probably make a whole lot more money. If done right in TNA, the money would still be there for them because they could go out and do other projects. I think it's a win-win situation over there." Recalling the conversation he had with then WWE Chairman Vince McMahon about making the move to AEW, Mark Henry noted on Busted Open Radio, "I told Vince, I said, hey man, I'm going to go over there and try to make that place better and kick your ass in the ratings." And Vince is like, "I know you are." And it wasn't like there was an argument or fussing or fighting. We ended on good terms. And I thought that was a lesson that a lot of people need to learn. Everything has seasons. Asked if she is still questioned about a possible return to WWE, Ronda Rousey told WrestleZone, "I mean, yeah, I feel like that's a good thing. I guess it means that I missed it if people are still asking if I'm going to be fighting or wrestling. My last run with Vince, Bruce Pritchard, and John Laurinaitis was such a negative experience. Most of them are gone now, but Bruce is still around. I'm not overly excited to come back like I was the last time, even though I had many matches that I enjoyed and had a great time. When I look back, I don't really think of the joy I had in those matches. I mostly remember the anxiety of never knowing what was going on until the very last minute, not being allowed to prepare, and having our time cut repeatedly. The experience was so needlessly stressful, which is why I focus so much on screenwriting and drafting novels as a refuge. I know things are a lot different now. I've heard from the girls that it's much better, but it's hard to shake that past experience and be excited to come back like I was before." Going over the situation with Jeff Hardy departing AEW, Ringside News wrote that Jeff Hardy's AEW contract was set to expire in June, and all signs pointed towards him returning to TNA after he became a free agent. That's exactly what happened, as he returned at against all odds, and it appears Hardy planned on asking for his AEW release in January. In June 2022, Jeff Hardy was arrested for a DUI in Florida. Having struggled with substance abuse issues in the past, Hardy entered a plea of no low contendery and avoided jail time. However, his driver's license was suspended for 10 years, meaning he won't be able to drive legally for a decade. While speaking to Busted Open Radio, Jeff Hardy revealed that he was prepared to ask for his release from AEW in January, the same day he was scheduled to face Darby Allin at a Rampage taping. Hardy was considering a return to the independent circuit and had tweeted about his dissatisfaction with the company's show scheduling, expressing a preference for Dynamite over Collision, which he referred to as designed for punks. Hardy was trying to provoke a reaction on social media to create a heel persona, and although his comments were unprofessional, they resulted in him getting matches, including the one with Darby Allin. This match reignited his passion for wrestling, which he had been struggling with. Despite losing the matches, he felt rejuvenated and found joy in the craft once again. Hardy admitted that he was at a low point before this experience, but wrestling Darby restored his enthusiasm for the sport and made him realize why he loved it. That happened actually the second time I wrestled Darby. I went into work that day and I was ready to just ask for my release and go back on the indies and really start loving the craft again. But I was trying to be somewhat of a heel on social media, and so I said something that wasn't professional at all, but I got a match out of that and a few more good matches. I didn't win any of them, but I was out there on TV and I was finding that love for the craft again. But after I wrestled Darby that night, again, it refilled my soul then as a 46-year-old human being. I was like, oh my god, this is fun and this is why I love it. But I was in a real low place and I was ready to go back to the indies and just try to find the love for the craft again because I'd kind of lost it. In an update on the company's status of a former women's champion in WWE, Mike Johnson of PW Insider wrote that WWE Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix is no longer under contract to WWE. PWInsider.com has confirmed with multiple sources. Phoenix last wrestled for the company in 2023 and had also been working as an announcer. During the media call before the ROH Death Before Dishonor event, AEW President Tony Khan was asked by Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics about reports of a possible renewal of AEW's television deal with Warner Bros. Discovery, as Khan responded, "I don't usually do this, but since Brandon brought it up and asked, I had a major member of the wrestling media mention to me yesterday. WWE is telling people that, and I don't know why WWE is telling people about our media rights deal. I don't know whether it's any of their business. I don't really understand why WWE PR calls people and talks about my business. WWE PR is telling people that the deal is done and that the deal is done at the same level that it was going to be our previous deal. That's not the case. I don't know why WWE PR and why major wrestling media members who are very credible and never lied to me, I don't know why they are telling people that. It's none of their business. I think WWE PR really gets involved in a lot of things they shouldn't get involved in. I can tell you that is very untrue. When we make a deal for AEW, it's going to be a great deal with a big increase over what we've been doing. We're in a really good position and have been doing great business here despite what they're trying to do to us. Thanks." And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.